just have the issue of the minutes. And I don't see all. Let me see. Hang on.
How are you?
Yeah,
I sprinted up the stairs.
you are better than me. I saw the elevator going and I was like, I'm gonna wait for the next one.
I think I don't know where the elevator is. That probably should be my next mission.
You know where the stairs are? You just gotta keep going.
Gotta commit to it.
Yeah.
Apparently we're live and Andre's online.
Great.
Okay.
And yeah, you are all welcome to come sit up here if you want.
So to clarify, we never heard from Julie either, or Sophie.
So Sophie can no longer commit.
Okay. We'll
So
get to that when we get to that section.
yes,
Okay.
but we have found the replacement
Excellent.
Thank
and the
you.
application has been submitted. So
No, sorry, I'll go next to that.
Thanks, all. Me too. Hi, Andre.
Yeah.
Just checking to see if anyone is coming. They're not. So we are just going to go ahead and get started. This is the regular Tuesday night meeting for the Advisory Committee on Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Human Rights. That is September 26th. To get started, I'm just going to have everyone go around the room who are regular committee members, so we can get that for the record. Since we do have some people on Zoom, my name is Leanna Fellis. I am the chair.
My name's Katie Bryden. I'm vice chair.
My name's Melissa Bookhouse. I'm just member.
Andre, not to give a copy.
Can you hear me? Okay, I'm Andre Chassé.
And then Debbie.
I'm Debbie Laurie and I'm the city manager here in Bangor.
All right. So I don't know that we actually have a quorum to be able to approve the minutes, correct?
We do not.
We do
We need
not.
to get to 5.
We're going to bypass number 1 then, and we're going to jump right into education. We've switched things up a little bit on our agenda tonight because we have some presenters. We want to be mindful of their time, so we're going to have them start for us. And we have some individuals from the Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness Center. Do I have that correct? We're going to talk about what's happening, some of the projects coming up. Yeah, so I will turn it to whoever who would like to start.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Sakabason. I am the co-CEO of Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness. I'm going to go around because I have 3 members of my team here, and that is often rare for me when I'm presenting. So that is awesome. Now I am co-presenting with these amazing people. And Ethan, I'm going to turn it over to you. And if you can just introduce yourself, and then we'll hand it around the room.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ethan Louisville. I'm the Leadership Communication Specialist at WPHW. Pass it up to Sage.
Good evening, Ignash Winishashtusha. My name is Sage Purser. Pronouns are she, her. I am the co-senior director of Wabanaki Public Health. I've been with the organization for, around 7 years, I think, next year. And yeah, really happy to be here today. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Haley Williams. I'm the grants manager at WPHW, and I'm just so happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, so thanks, everyone. We're going to go through this PowerPoint presentation. If we can get to the presenter screen, that would be great. Is that you? Do you want me to?
So he's been doing it from
I can
back. So I don't want, sometimes I end up fighting the mouse with the individual who's operating the camera. I try not to do that.
Okay. That's okay. There we are. And then I didn't realize I had all that control right here. That's wonderful.
You go.
So really a pleasure to be here. And whenever we get an opportunity to share the work we're doing, it reminds us of all the important community members that we still need to reach out to. And I'm sure there's many more. So as we're presenting, if you could please think about maybe other friends that we need to be connected to, that would be great, because we are so focused in the work day to day. We are not only making this dream come true downtown, but we're also providing services of recovery and healing. So we have a pretty big campus. And now when Sage started, like well, definitely a full 6 years
Mhm.
that you've been with the organization. You are one of 5 people. And I joined, I was team number 7, and now 5 years later, we're well over 200 and working in many areas, all corners of the state, meeting the needs of Indigenous people as well as other people that are close to our communities. So our campus spreads across the state. Here in Bangor, we have a handful of sites. We also have some locations in Millinocket, a pretty large campus there. And we have sites in Calais as well as Fulton. So here, our Wabanaki Youth and Cultural Center is what we're here to talk about. Our logo that we brought to you with magnets, and those that are on Zoom, we'll make sure you get yours too, as well as some informational materials of the focus of this center. Really, what created the idea for this center was our young people. Before Sage was leading the entire public health center that we have at Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness, she was leading the youth, or the work for of our future generations, and that work really was the work that created this idea. It was the young people coming together saying they wanted a place where they could come together, where they could be with their friends, be with their family, be with themselves, but have a space that was all about them, their culture, their history, and the land that we all share now. And so they also had some pretty clear directives and the ideas that they wanted in the center. And we're going to present to you those ideas because that's what created really the roadmap, that if you come down and visit us, which I really encourage you to do so, you'll see our renderings of what this property will look like as soon as we raise all the money. So that is a big part of this work too, is fundraising. So that is some of my responsibility. So this place downtown is a place where we want people to feel a connection to their neighbors, a connection to Bangor, a connection to Wabanaki territory and the culture that they might not know a lot about, but they have interest in learning. And so let's see if this works. Maybe not. Oh, here we go. Oh, down, huh? What is this? Oh, okay, here we go. Right here.
Did you go too far?
There we are. So this is what we're going to go over. And we're going to start here. Our vision is really to create this space for our Indigenous youth, yes, and for everybody who lives in this territory and beyond. People who come and visit Bangor, people who pass through, we want them to not just pass through, but stay, to make sure that they have a meal someplace downtown and come and learn a little bit about the land that they're on. Also, we want to make sure that it's a place where Indigenous people feel like it's their home too. That is so important to us. This is Wabanaki territory that, yes, we have been displaced from much of it, and a place where we believe is struggling because we are not here. We are not stewarding this land like we once did. And so now we all have to worry about the contaminations that are in our backyard, that are in our rivers, that are in our air, because we have been displaced from land that we cared for so deeply. So here, it's so important that we all connect to the land that we now share, that we all have responsibilities that we all, to this land. And we want to share what that is through their experience with us. Here's a picture. I'm sure you've been in this location. It was home to Epic Sports for so long. And now this is going to be transformed. I want to describe to you what we're going to do with these. I'm like now wanting to describe to you everything we're changing, but that's to come. But what is really important for you to know that we on the mezzanine level, so just on that sort of second level, in the back of that sort of out, whatever you call that, almost half wall-ish, is a beautiful space for our after-school youth programming. It's a special space that's closed off to them. Renovations are needed. We were able to secure that grant, which was so critically important. And what our youth told us, we have lots of Indigenous youth that go to schools all throughout Bangor. Most go to Indigenous schools till 8th grade, and then they go into many of the schools around here. They wanted a place they could go for after school. They wanted a place that they could learn, get support if needed, eat, connect to culture, and really have a place where they can thrive and get any support that they might need. Lives of our young people are complex. They need so many people loving them. And this is an opportunity for that to happen in their backyard from school. And we're able to provide so much programming that Sage can talk about for young people that we haven't been able to do before. So that's exciting about this spot. I just want to describe, before we move on from this overview, these pillars that you see, and I'll describe them later too, are going to be transformed as an indoor forest. So if you can imagine each of these pillars being a different tree with tree cover way up in the sky, that sky being a fiber optic sky showing the constellations that are meaningful to us. So if you can picture this being transformed, obviously the checkered floor goes. It's really going to be a space that makes the indoors look very much like the outdoors. We hope that this is a place, a local attraction, just like the Discovery Museum or the Penobscot Theater or the waterfront concerts. We hope it's seen that people come to Bangor to experience Wabanaki culture in a way that they haven't been able to experience it before. We think that Wabanaki people will reconnect to culture this way that may not have grown up in territory. We also think that many of the people that come and visit us, because of the work that we do, being such a large organization and doing so much work in the health and healing space, it's a space for them to come and learn that people that are from outside the state of Maine to really connect to this territory and hopefully come back with their families. Oh no.
Okay.
There we go. So really, connection is the word of the evening. It's really about connecting to our land and connecting to our foods, connecting to our culture. The land around us is so important. Penobscot County holds really sacred spaces for us. Mount Katahdin just to our north, as well as the Penobscot River that winds throughout the territory. These places have been meaningful for thousands of years, and we want to connect other people who call Maine home to why these places are so meaningful. They're so abundant, that abundance has changed, and we want to teach and share with people our stories about what we can do to replace some of our behaviors with more behaviors that will create that abundance back for the river and the environment around us. So yes, definitely connection as well as responsibility is where we want to focus. So inside, here's where we describe some of the indoor forests. Obviously, most of the plants indoors will be faux or fake. They will not be living. We are working with the Maine Coast Botanical Gardens, the Mid-Coast Botanical Gardens, sorry, to really see what we can have indoors, and they're wonderful. And we work with them really closely, and we were just with them at their location a couple of weeks ago. We're creating the Penobscot River indoors, which we're really excited about. The Discovery Museum, we're working in conversations with them, and they're creating the Penobscot River indoors as well. And their river is really amazing for those young children and their families. And our river is, yes, good for young children, but really good for all of us. And also for maybe the children that are older. So making sure that we are creating connections to other places, that come and see our river, but if you really want to play and get wet, you need to go up to the Discovery Museum. So making sure that Bangor is a place that you want to come and spend not just a couple hours, you want to come and visit all of the places that are connected to our cultural center. We're going to have a recreation of our Eagle's Nest, so kids can climb up in and experience the amazing vastness of an eagle's nest, amazing connections to our environment, able to have active places. Sage and I traveled the Northeast Seaboard and visited so many places and watched where kids were excited, where kids might have been scared, but it made them like go to the next level of their courage. And so we're trying to really take our learnings and make sure that our place is a place for everyone, for all abilities, all places, or a place where all people can connect to things. So that climbing into the Eagle's Nest is wonderful, but it is low enough for you to be interactive with it too, if you're not able to climb. We're also having the recreation of Mount Katahdin, which is a bouldering wall. We spent a lot of time on bouldering walls this past year, learning a lot about walls and what creates the excitement for people who boulder at all levels. So connecting you to Mount Katahdin here in southern Penobscot County, but really encouraging you to go up and hike Mount Katahdin with perhaps Sage or one of the members of our team and teach you about Mount Katahdin from that perspective as well. So really a place where we can connect you indoors, but where you really need to go is you need to explore as well. So connecting to all places in Wabanaki territory. Our foods, so important to us. We should have brought you some maple syrup or Passamaquoddy candies, maple candies or something. Now that I'm thinking about it, food is so important to us. When you come visit us, we'll make sure you're well fed. This is going to offer a place for our young people to explore the kitchen, and they have lots of ideas around that. It's also a place for us to offer Greater Bangor a place to come and eat too. So what we want to offer is we want to teach our young people about their traditional foods. We already have programs for that, but this offers a huge kitchen that we want, of course, it's a commercial grade kitchen. Really wanting to collaborate with the USDA in terms of creating a teaching kitchen as well as a kitchen that can bring things to market. Our young people are so creative. They create teas and other things that they want to be able to sell. And so being able to have a space for that is really important. We also want to introduce the Greater Bangor community and all of Bangor's visitors to what our foods are like and what foods that we grow up in Millinocket, but also the foods that we're trying to bring back that we actually have to borrow from other Indigenous or buy from other Indigenous places because we no longer have those foods here. So lots of learnings and teachings when we think about bringing our food to a broader audience. Connecting folks to Native culture, creating spaces in the cultural center for maker spaces. We're going to have a beautiful space where any one of you could come and learn how to connect to the materials we use, our ash, our sweetgrass. We could teach you different ways of making beautiful things, probably not as beautiful as the basket you see depicted, but you might go home with a beautiful bookmark, for instance. So lots of things for people to connect to and understand the importance of environmental stewardship when we think about the beautiful ash of this basket. This ash is at risk. We have invasive species that essentially make this tree very hard to find that is usable now for us to make our baskets. So really, again, connecting to our responsibilities and our stewardship of the environment. we're going to have an art gallery space, which is so exciting. If you went into Epic Sports and you can remember where the sneakers were displayed, that's going to be recreated for youth art, which we're really excited about. The Abbey Museum does an amazing job working with, have you ever been? Oh my goodness, it's so cool what they do. They work with our native schools, which we as well do. And the young people submit their art for their gallery. And so we'll have a gallery here downtown, which will be really exciting for youth to be able to submit their art here. We work a lot with, we have programs for young people, Indigenous young people that are in contact with the child welfare system. And so we're really excited to be able to include young people from maybe not in community, but out of community into the gallery space. So that's exciting for us to be truly inclusive of no matter where you're at, to be able to have a space to show your art. Also having cultural exhibits, there are so many exhibits to think about. When we think about the petroglyphs, I don't know if you ever have heard of them throughout Maine, amazing history that, you know, thousands of years old, ways of communication of Wabanaki people. We're going to recreate those petroglyphs indoors. We visited the Smithsonian we visited the Natural History Museum. And that museum was so amazing and really gave us some ideas about really being able to recreate stone walls and how to do that. And so that was exciting, and recreating those petroglyphs to teach everyone what they are, where they are, and to encourage to explore with respect. And what does that mean? So really being intentional with the lessons that are important to our culture. And of course, connecting with Bangor. The greater Bangor community is really important to us. Of course, all its visitors. When we first started working in Millinocket, we were committed to knowing our neighbors, being really connected to the town and supporting the town in all of its efforts. And we have really integrated into the town. We are, if any of you are marathon runners, we have a Team Wabanaki running the Millinocket Marathon and Half, December 4th, the first Saturday of December.
You run outside?
Yes, we run
Yeah.
outside.
That's their place.
So cool.
Yeah.
These are amazing.
Yeah,
It is.
The turnout is unbelievable.
yeah.
So it's
People
it's a
come
lot
from
of
all over.
fun. We've been doing it a couple of years, and we had a pretty big team last year, and now I know 3 of us at the table will be running.
I was just going to ask her who's running.
We're walking.
I'm going in the walking.
Yeah, right. Like, so people do all things, but we have people from 18 to 80 on Team Wabanaki, and it's really amazing. And we have a pretty diverse team of Wabanaki, non-Wabanaki, just friends from all over the state. So yeah, if you follow us on Facebook, there'll be a link if you want to join our team. You get swag every month, getting you prepared for the race. So we get invested in community. We want to highlight the beautiful things going on in community. And if we can make those events even brighter, then we want to do that. And so, you know, we now open that marathon with a prayer. The award ceremony is in our healing lodge right at the starting line. And we are so now integrated in some of the events that really make Millinocket. And we just want to do more of that in the town. And the same with the Bangor community. We're right downtown. We have such an opportunity to offer so much downtown. I mean, we've already offered some, Bangor Pride and having such beautiful art in those windows. There's just a lot of opportunity for us to be bringing people together, which is our hope. Already, you know, continuing partnerships and conversations with some really important folks to us. I've already mentioned the Discovery Museum. Their work is just fabulous. I could spend a day in that museum. I think I have.
Yeah.
Climbing in those, it's just so much fun. And so like really knowing, you know, where they're going with their work, particularly with the river and their honoring of the river and making sure we're honoring the river too. And really supporting each other's work is just a lot of fun. You want to talk about downtown Bangor?
Sure, I think it's the next one. As the
Oh,
events.
this has all the, so now you know
Gotta
with
do
the
it again.
presentation.
Yeah.
So anyway, real quick, just some real important partnerships with the Penobscot Theater as well, just working with them on an important show where we're going to have a shared exhibit. And we'll talk a little bit about the Botanical Gardens as well. So upcoming events that we want you to know about. Indigenous Peoples Day, October 9th. We're going to have a fairly small, I mean, I'm guessing 100, 150-ish people gathering. We'll have drumming. We're going to talk about all the programs that our organization offers, but also really it's essentially a mocktail 2-hour. Breaking all the rules. Not cocktail, it's mocktail. It's not hour, it's 2. And so it's just going to be really a nice way for us to honor Indigenous Peoples Day. And the Maine Public Health Association is having their annual conference here in Bangor. So we really wanted to have people not just come in the morning really early from Portland, because that's what a lot of people do is they leave really early in the morning and they come up and they leave. So we're like, no, we'll have the event the night before and then get them here the night before. And I will say it's working and it's a lot of fun to be collaborating with an organization and bringing people to Bangor. Native American Heritage Month, we have a few different events, but really collaboration with Firefly, who lives here in Bangor, who's a performer of the Penobscot. He's Penobscot from the Penobscot Nation, and he's going to be performing at the Penobscot Theater, as well as spending some time hopefully with us. We're going to open our doors for it to be open to vendors, so artists. So they, you know, it's a great time in November to be thinking about holiday shopping in December, if you haven't started yet. And we have amazing artists that want to sell their products that I think anybody would love and enjoy. So doing a lot of activities in November. Is there anything else I should mention?
That we're doing with Betsy as well, with the downtown partnership. And then also the downtown countdown is something we're still unsure of exactly what that will look like, but we definitely will be involved.
Dropping something.
Dropping something from
I heard your route was
Yes.
being sought after.
Yes. And
Yes.
so I'm not sure what we're dropping. But I'm sure somebody will make that decision.
Yeah.
Where's the October 9th event?
Right in the
gonna be safe.
location. Yeah, I really encourage you all to come. It's like
Yeah.
4 to 6. Oh, we'll
4 to
have
6.
hors d'oeuvres, which are really good.
They're
So it's like indigenous with like contemporary food. So like
Mhm.
essentially indigenous with Western food, with like food you get downtown. And the mocktails are so good. We already have our mocktail tenders or
yeah.
bartenders or whatever you call them.
Mhm.
We'll have 2 different bars set up and you'll be having things. I mean, they're infusing like our elderberries, our blueberries. I mean, it's just going to be a lot of fun and open to all ages.
So is it just drop in? Do you have to register or how do you
I have no
want
idea.
to
There-
invite folks?
There is a registration line,
Okay.
but I think the plan, when we talked about it, we talked about doors open and the public being able to walk in.
Yeah,
but
no doubt.
With like, anytime we have music, I think we talked
Open the
about keeping the
doors.
doors open.
Yeah,
What time is it?
4 to 6.
Thank you.
We'll send it. We'll
Okay.
send you the link.
Yes,
Yes,
December.
because I think it will be, I mean, it's something nice. It's quick.
Mhm.
To do for Indigenous Peoples Day, and it will be nice to get the people from out of town into Bangor.
Yeah.
And so we're excited about that too.
We can find information on your Facebook page as well. and
You
Zoom.
can.
Not yet.
No, you can't.
Not yet. No, we only share it with the
Inside
MPHA.
you right
You
now.
can.
We only share it with the MPHA so far, and then you all will be the second group. I think Facebook will be
You throw us on that. Yeah, we probably put it on Facebook, but you can also
People-
probably find it. I heard it was on the MPHA website.
Yes, it's on this website as well, wabanakiYCC.org. We have some of these events listed there too.
And we have a lot of amazing people that are helping support, but we definitely are going to be launching a pretty large fundraising campaign, not just to get this property complete, but we also have Kenduskeag Avenue, which I think you all know about. So that property we're really excited about. We think it will go partner really closely with the property downtown. Any properties that we create, one of the first sets of people that walk through are artists, the people that create the beauty, that really set the healing stage for the rest of the work. And so Kenduskeag is a big project. We're talking probably about $2 million project. I mean, it's a complete renovation of that building. You know, what I want you to envision is a beautiful Indigenous inn. The model, however, is more like a Ronald McDonald House. So we have so many people coming into Bangor now and coming in because their loved ones are in our programs, and they might live in Southern Maine and now they're coming into Bangor. They may live, I'm from Adotnagook, I'm from Indian Township, reservation 2+ hours away in good weather in the daytime, because at nighttime is moose time. And so, you know, you don't want people traveling. You want people to be able to stay. And so we need a place for when there's a baby in the NICU, and those Indigenous parents need to bond with that baby and be with that baby and need a place to stay. They have a place to stay where they're held, where they have a beautiful kitchen that, you know, that holds them with their culture. It also allows for, you know, others to stay as well. You know, that primary focus is always our families, but there'll be quite a few rooms for people to stay in. There's, you know, you can think of 4 different areas of this inn, if you will. And the 4 areas we are calling Micmac, Maliseet, Penobscot, and Passamaquoddy. So those wings will be designed by artists from those territories. The art within those wings will be from the artists from those territories. There are rules in terms of behind the property, in terms, you know, environmentally, in terms of how that needs to be cared for, but there is an opportunity to do some trails throughout the woods behind that property down to the Kenduskeag streams. We're excited about that. There's also a huge kitchen that's, you know, where we also want a USDA certified kitchen where we can be really, you know, doing youth retreats and bringing them here and creating teas from the chaga they collected, right, and dried, and having overnight retreats. So yes, a place always for people who are receiving services and their families to be able to stay, but also some of our public health programming, allowing people to stay for those purposes as well. And so there's, you know, an opportunity to hold small conferences there. And so we're excited about that. There's a beautiful, if you will, just open room, if you've ever been in that property. And that open room, you know, you can envision hardwood floors, stained glass windows, and just, you know, a big fireplace, and it's just big and open. So can hold comfortably, probably 75 people, maybe a little bit, maybe 50, but, you know, really thinking about our spaces and wanting them to be welcoming to others, and how can we have multi-use while fulfilling our mission and making sure our priority populations are always served first. I'll stop there. Did I miss? I probably missed a lot.
You covered a lot.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's about your fundraising efforts.
Yeah.
Is it all grant based? Are you having, I mean, I know it's not all grant based, but like, what does that look like? What can we do to help support those efforts?
Yeah. So we are just developing. So we are an organization that grew really fast, right? 5 years, less than a dozen to 200 plus, and probably 300 next year.
Wow.
And so it's big, rapid growth. And so our fundraising efforts, we've never needed to raise funds before. Even with all that growth, we had so many grants, because that's how we do a lot of our work, that we would get donations, but we didn't have a development department. So now we're creating a development department. So we are really, for an organization of our size, we should have had a development department, and we grew so fast that we couldn't even, I mean, it wasn't right. HR and finance were sort of the priorities. And so now we're doing that. And our fundraising, yes, is some grants, and we've secured some really important ones to do some of this work, but we need private donations.
Yeah.
No doubt. Now we do have somewhat of a donor base that's pretty strong. We just haven't developed the mechanism yet to be going out and doing those asks and making sure that all the systems behind the scenes are ready to take in all that information. So we are thinking there's so much in development. So we've learned. And so we've had a consultant. We have some infrastructure to build, and that's kind of where we're at.
Okay.
Now we are always taking donations because we have a finance department. We're always taking donations, and we need to raise, we're talking a good couple $1 million.
Okay.
And that's for each of the properties. And some of those dollars goes into not just the renovations of the cultural center, but also the staffing and infrastructure that you need to get going. And that's where we've made, being such a new organization, that's where we've made mistakes in the past, is that we have the dollars to do, to do the renovations and the work, but then and then the people needed to actually lift up the work. Then we're doing it again, aren't we, Sage? Right? Like it's literally us, so like you need the staffing. It's right. Like, I was kidding when I said Sage will take you on a tour of Mount Katahdin. No, Sage's team will take you on a tour of Mount Katahdin, right? Like, and
Unless
that's
you're really lucky.
Unless you're really right, unless you want to pay that highest fee. So
Mr. P.
take a seat. So that's where we haven't been as thoughtful in the past as who are the people we need to make sure we can do the work at. And so we're being more thoughtful. So yeah, we're talking, just for Central Street, we're talking a couple $1 million for just that work.
So what does that look like from a timeline perspective? Like, what's your goal? When you aim to,
It's a really good question. So what we do know is that some of our collaborations have made us think differently. And so I feel like I want to stop and say hi.
I'm just trying to slow down. She knows what I
know. I told him. I gave him.
It was rough.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Theron Betterlow, and drive a school bus.
Wow, I have a lot of respect for people who drive a school bus.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's the one person, along with my son's teacher, that I make sure feel the love every holiday.
I appreciate it.
Well, 4 of us were from Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness.
Okay.
And are they all coming in too? Okay.
Don't get
If you'd like to. Sorry, Lisa.
No,
Thank
you're
you.
fine. And we're talking about the property at 16 Central, downtown property across from Noodle Place, not far from the Bagel Place. Really great location.
I love that
for food.
descriptor.
I
didn't know where it was before, actually, so this is very helpful.
Very good.
That's your next marketing, not
Right.
far from the noodle, not far from the bagel.
Plenty of places to eat. So anyway, we were just talking about the infrastructure needed to run our Wabanaki Youth and Cultural Center.
All
So
right.
we're starting it up, creating bouldering walls,
Wow.
recreating the Penobscot River, creating art space,
Nice.
creating trees indoors, those sorts of things. If you can think museum-ish.
Yeah,
mixed with,
yeah.
like children's, but really family. We were really intentional with having a lot of places for no matter what your age or ability, you have a comfortable place you
Awesome.
can be.
Yeah.
And you can learn, or you can eat, or you can read. And so do whatever you want. And so yeah, being really thoughtful about what it costs to actually get the work up and running. We do a lot with a little in terms of people, and sometimes we need to get out of that mindset if we're really going to see this happen in a fast timeline. So anyway, our collaborations have really guided some of our thinking about our timeline. At first, we were thinking, okay, we have about 2.5 million to raise. We'll raise that money and then we'll do all the work. And then we quickly went from, wait a minute, we have this amazing asset. We want to offer it to the community. There are things that we can do now that can start to have an active space downtown. And so, we have some activities coming forward, and we'll make sure you get that information. And the Penobscot Theater and we are working together. They're doing a production of a traditional story, a Wabanaki story. And this is going to be in January, February-ish. February, March. And it's amazing. I can't wait for the production, and we're working closely with them. And one of our first exhibits that will be open will be in collaboration with them. So they're talking about a traditional story about our creation story. And so and that creation story is tied to our ash tree that we make our baskets from. And so we want an exhibit about our baskets. We want an exhibit about the ash tree and the risk to the ash tree now, tying in that environmental piece. So with that said, I can tell you that the timeline for that exhibit is February, March. So, and then, really trying to, yes, continuously bring in those dollars for the things that need to be done, like the flooring, right? There's a kitchen, there's things that just need to be done. So that will all be ongoing. And then I believe how we're going to be doing it is exhibit by exhibit, where we can keep things covered so then it can be revealed great. But we want the space usable as much as it can be while we're raising the money and while we're building out.
Kind of like a continual soft rollout.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. The first thing for sure is the after school program. Upstairs.
After school program is probably the
first
first thing that's going to
real construction work and everything.
But you mentioned the school, and I don't want to interrupt anyone in the committee if they have any other questions, but are you also involved with the Bangor School, the Wabanaki stuff that's happening in the school? Is that with you or?
Not directly, but we're definitely a part of it. And we have people that, of course, from community and that work with us closely that collaborate on a lot of that, the work that's going into that. So like any of the language classes or the Wabanaki studies, like even, statewide, we're also involved in that.
That's good. Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments or anything from anyone here? Or if there's anything that you all wanted to add as well?
When's the groundbreaking for it?
Well, I mean, I think we've already sort of started that. I mean, when you really think
Construction
about it.
started already?
Well, no, I mean, construction in places.
Oh, okay.
But I will say our after school area is going to be the first, groundbreaking, if you will.
Okay.
But I think that space is going to be constructed pretty quickly. And so I would think the soft open, like rollout, like you said, like we would say, please come and see our new after school program, right? It's going to be more like that than let's cut the ribbon
whole
and,
thing.
yeah, we want the community invested in, and also, see the renderings, like this wall could be yours sooner.
Right,
If they had it sooner, right? I mean, we want that bouldering wall, but yeah, I also need, $200,000. So like, it's really making it visible for people to see what it will be transformed into, but also the responsibility our entire community has in making sure that may happen. And so, we're writing grants. We have secured grants for different areas, the after school area being the first. And of course, we do have donations coming in, but as I said, we're probably going to launch our full campaign late fall. We are not ready yet.
So let me ask you, as far as you say donations, are you fundraising as far as that? Because I was just sitting here thinking about Sear Bus Companies is in Old Town. So why wouldn't I try to go to them and say, look, this is what's going on, think about, donating some money to them, as far as like that.
That's what you're talking about is the community engagement and ownership that we want people to say, hey, my neighbor works here or works at this bank, and I'm going to let them know about it, right? Or let her know about it. And so we want people to be talking about what will be, and I think that will be easier once we have the renderings for each of the spaces where people can come in and see, where, and then where the donations are coming from are going to really dictate, because some people do say, okay, this is for the wall, or this is for your youth space, right?
Yeah.
And so you'll quickly see what gets done.
All right.
How can we best keep up to date with, like, as things are developing and new things are groundbreaking? What's the best way to keep?
That's a great question. WabanakiYCC.org is the best place to get event information. So updated event information. We need to talk about.
Yeah, I know.
social
We've
media
never
possibly,
even thought about that.
and having a separate social media for this.
Like one of those thermometers that measure.
Right.
How close are we to the wall?
Right. Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that question, because I think there's something we can definitely do with the website, but also with our social media page, making sure that every month we have, something about our progress. And then coming to our events, you definitely will see more if you come visit.
Yeah, that's awesome. You also have those wonderful windows down at the Central Street location, which is great advertising for, I mean, I drive through there every day, So I'm just thinking that's immediate
Absolutely.
visual there.
Last year around holiday time, we had some community partner organizations.
Yeah,
in the
that's
windows,
fun.
and I think
Oh my
we're planning
goodness,
to
when
do that
Pride
again.
came, I was like, look at that. It's just
Yeah, it was
gorgeous.
great. That was great for Pride. I love
Talking about the building that's right there on the corner, right?
Yeah.
With the one that's
Or-
used to be a sports store or something?
Yeah.
Oh, right now, okay. That's a pretty good spot, right?
It's really nice for that.
That is.
Yeah, and then all of our offices are, well, not all of us, but many of our offices are all above. So that
Okay.
entire building is Wabanaki.
That's awesome. I'll go back and spread the word. I'm gonna talk to my company. See if they're part of that.
Within
Yeah.
the space too, are you looking to hold other events in like collaboration with community partners? I was thinking about like Fusion Bangor, for instance, like the young professional group in town, like they have monthly events, Fusion First events, where they bring in all that crowd there. That'd be a good way to kind of get awareness and spread the information on that.
Yes.
We're definitely interested. I'm trying to think, there were just a couple of groups that we were talking about doing things with. So yes, absolutely interested. Yeah, it was
Classes
a
with
permanent
them,
commission on,
the classes with them as well, surrounding their show. They want to do some
Yes.
youth teaching
Yes,
classes
that's
and things
right.
like that.
Yeah.
Yes,
What-
a lot of
one other
community
thing.
collaborations for
Do you
sure.
have point of contact and all that information like that, or I could?
yes,
Okay.
yes. It's definitely
I
not
like
me, because because it's really,
Probably
it's
what,
Ethan.
yeah, I was gonna say, if we make information for Debbie, then she can share it with all of us.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I'll send you an
Okay.
email after then.
Yeah.
And I'll
Yeah.
give all that.
Sounds good.
information.
I think
That would be
that's-
great.
You may have had, did you have a question?
I did,
Yeah.
so I just wanted to kind of, bring to folks, especially the committee, I think folks from Wabanaki understand that, last week, the city council did allocate $648,000 to fund a lot of the physical
Mhm.
improvements, especially to the youth space downtown.
That's great.
Yeah.
The one thing, they all wanted to fund the fiber optic ceiling, but they just couldn't do.
I'm still looking for a donor.
That will sell itself. I have
One of the biggest expenses.
I have a feeling. So of the total $1.1 million of capital that they had submitted their application for to support the redevelopment of that site specifically, the council funded $648,000 of that.
Huge.
fund.
I
So
appreciate it.
that's hopefully that's a good jumping off point for you. I mean, to be able to build a campaign with a starting
Yeah.
point like that. I think is gonna be
Yeah,
so
and that's
helpful.
why we're so eager to get it done.
Yeah.
Right, because then that is exactly
it.
what works for the next step. So, the timeline is such a hard, we go where the energy is.
Yeah.
And I know that's a
Okay.
weird way to
So
describe it,
Okay.
but that's
No,
kind of the
no,
story of
It makes a
Wabanaki.
lot of sense.
Yeah.
People will be excited to see what's happening, want to
Yeah.
stay involved so that they can see it
Right.
as it unveils. So I think it's smart.
Yeah.
And I guess the only other thing is just thinking from a, collaboration standpoint, I think
Yeah.
there are a lot of opportunities. And I think you've obviously identified a lot of your national partners. I think there's a place to connect back through the cultural commission.
Yep.
I think there's also a place to connect back. So we're gonna be doing, as we do parks and open spaces, to be
Mhm.
mindful to bring the Wabanaki perspective into the plantings and
Yeah.
things like that. I think that's a great opportunity.
Wow.
I know that you already partner with our public health department in a lot of ways in finding ways that we can continue to support one another and perhaps advance the work. And I know I've run into some of your workers during outreach when we're working in encampments and things. So a way to bring us all together and make us responsible and committed to one another. We all are in this space, but to sort of formalize that a little bit more, I think is an opportunity.
Definitely.
I think probably as well, I think any space that is especially geared to younger folks, I think there's an opportunity in our Parks and Rec programs and offerings. And maybe there's an opportunity for them to have some of their classes,
Yeah,
depending on the classes in your space.
Yeah.
And then the other piece of that obviously is, for example, you already have a great relationship with Maine Discovery Museum. I'm gonna throw in a plug for the Challenger Center as well. They do a lot of, they're always looking for opportunities to go and to other places and
I
to
didn't
learn
even know
other
that.
things. Correct.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Great.
yeah, it's the Challenger Learning Center. It's based on the NASA
Okay.
Yeah.
programs.
It's just by the
And
airport.
so I met her,
Okay.
right, so.
Yeah, you don't even notice it.
Yeah.
No,
It's really in
Ethan,
that
if
thing.
you, when you send me information,
End of
if you want to send me a reminder,
That's awesome.
Sure.
I'll make sure to provide you the links to the folks.
Yeah.
Especially
They're really
the
close to
Challenger
the
Learning
learning.
Center. I mean, that's, what they do is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
you know,
We
we,
love that.
and I would also say that, especially with the interest of the land and the river, be thoughtful about, it's not the pretty side of what we do, but I think we do serve as a pretty significant steward for water quality by
Yes.
operating a treatment
Yeah.
plant
Yeah.
and understanding sort of what we are
So
doing to
connected.
invest.
Absolutely.
So,
Right.
I just think there are, and I'll think of more tonight. I will wake up at some point.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, think about our harm reduction work.
Right.
You know, and that we need to expand, quite frankly, and, you know, our park cleanup and, you know, that work that we also can be expanding and bringing in grant dollars for, you know, that's kind of what we do, and work in collaboration with your local public health department, as well as HEAL and other organizations that are so committed to this work. So I think, I'm thinking of ideas.
So I like the commitment to community, because I think we all bring in, you know, resources, and we're also focused on our individual missions. I don't think we always recognize that there's more power if we work together as a community. So
we're with you. And I think, you know, our experience in Millinocket, I think if you talk to anyone there, can show you the just a deep commitment to that community as well, and just so many examples of how working together has really made a difference. So in terms of our relationship with the botanical gardens, just for you to think about, we really want to think about taking people from our front door to the river's edge, if you will. And there's already a little walk from, you know, like in front of Blaze, you know, and then there's this little walk to the river. And so it's already there. And I'm really thinking, how can we beautify that space? How can we work with the city to create perhaps a botanical walkway from our front door to the river, to encourage people to understand the connection to what you do downtown. And I think about Needles and the treatment plant in particular, what is our community responsibility? And I really love the idea of beautifying an area of downtown where we get a lot of people who need services, and maybe that's an opportunity for us to be reaching out in different ways, but really thinking about how can we create that connection to the river as an opportunity for teaching, but also thinking about how can we beautify those spaces. So
I love that. Very exciting.
I just want to say, it was a powerful presentation that you did tonight, and I'm so happy that you're finally come in and learn about the projects that you're working on. And I know I'll take it back to where I work. I work at college, so definitely take that wherever I can. I'm sure other committee members will definitely. And we also want to invite you back anytime you want to provide us with any updates or any projects or anything like that.
And I was going to say, is it may be a good space to put this on as a recurring thing every, at least once a year. I'm just going to say at least once a year. And then obviously, if there's something that you want to share, there's the opportunity for more. But I think making that commitment now will hold us all accountable to make sure that we create the space for that.
This is so fantastic.
Well, we could even shoot for twice a year.
You see, I knew you have a lot going on, so I wasn't gonna try. Okay.
We'll leave that to your discretion as often as you want. Definitely welcome all the updates.
We'll keep you, I think Ethan probably will be the communicator in terms of what's coming down the road and things for you to be aware of, but we'd love for you to see the space. So if you ever want to come and see the space, we definitely can make that happen.
And I will tell you the next item on our agenda tonight, we're talking about housing and what's going on in Bangor. So if that's something you would like to learn more about, you're free to stay and listen to that next part of our agenda tonight, because I'm sure there's probably things that you may not be interested in. But you're also free to leave.
We also know it's 7 o'clock.
We do have to head out. But I will say, housing is a huge issue that we are tackling, and we have some housing programs, and we provide housing. We provide recovery housing. We have 2 homes right now, one for men and one for women, and in Bangor. And then of course we do in Millinocket as well. And we don't have enough housing. And you know, it's an area that I always get concerned about as I get cold and I add on layers. Always mindful of people who don't have places to live and sleep. And so a committed partner. So if there's any role there to be at the table, but definitely a committed partner in that area. We're thinking really strategically in terms of crisis housing as well, and thinking about the resources needed to have a comprehensive crisis program, because that's where we're seeing real need.
That's why it's on our agenda. The continual issue. So again, thank you for coming.
Thank you all
tonight.
so much.
Come back
That's so
anytime.
great.
It was good to meet you other than just on email.
I know. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's important for you all to know is that within a month, we're opening Detox, and that Detox Center is on Mount Hope Avenue. That Detox is open to all people who need detox. And
How many beds?
I think 8.
Okay.
I shouldn't say that because I really don't know. Is it 8?
Putting me on the spot. It was 6, and then there's an expansion.
So it's going to be 10.
Okay.
Okay.
The expansion is 10. It is. So, so that, Indigenous,
Yeah.
definitely led and focused, and probably some foods, but certainly open to all people, and we need more detox beds too. So
Where on Mount Hope is it?
Where?
so it will
Must be in
share the space with where family planning is.
Yeah.
So we have all the other space.
Okay.
So there was there's an OBGYN office, and then there was a nonprofit. And so we took both of those spaces and then connected them and converted the spaces. And so some more services locally.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Giving us some of your time tonight. We appreciate it. We really do.
Thank you. That's really heavy to meet you. I know. Thank you. Thank you. Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll give them to the folks that weren't here.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Good to see you guys.
Make sure I spell your name right.
I want to have the minute. Okay.
I knew what
I
you were
was trying
doing.
to make sure I spelled everyone's name right in the minute. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, you too.
Great presentation. Great. We're going to move on to number 2. We have Andrew here to give us an update on housing. I know last time we had talked about kind of getting some information, where we are, where we're going. And I think that's kind of what we're talking a little bit about, and some ordinances, or no, I can't remember.
That's it tonight, just the housing.
Okay.
Yeah, no. We're coming on. We're coming on.
I'm like, what didn't I read tonight?
Kind of glaze over when I say, I'm going to talk to you about ordinances tonight. No, we're going to talk a little bit about trying to get the word out on what the city has been working on, addressing housing issues. That does include ordinances, but the Business and Economic Development Committee, Councillor Spriggs chair, and something that he really wants to do is to get that message out to people of what the city has been doing, what we're planning on doing, in the future, just to kind of for public education, because a lot of people don't know what all the different things that are going on in relation to housing. So we've been working on this is just a very simple list, but we're going to try to make it into kind of like a flyer or something that we can give out to people that talks about what we've done to reduce the regulatory barriers, the financial support that the city does through its block grant program, as well as more recently through the ARPA funding that the city council has been dedicating. And, things that we're working on right now, we're working on short-term rentals, we're working on a housing study, RFP, rental registry. There's a whole bunch of things that in-house at a staff level that we're working on that we're going to be bringing forward. So we're trying to create a flyer for that. And then internally, just kind of going through all of the different things that was in the comprehensive plan in relation to housing, things that the city council wants to see done in terms of strategies, trying to create a table that helps us at a staff level. This is almost more of an internal document that we'll use to track our projects, to make sure that we're continuing to move forward in doing the things that the city wants to see happen to help with housing. So I just wanted to give the group an update on that, and any other thoughts. You know, I know this was a lot of paper, but if there are other things that aren't on this list that you feel we should be doing. And
I just want to kind of add on to what Anne is talking about. So, you know, we allowed accessory dwelling units over 4 years ago.
Right.
You know, we've had very little uptake on that. We reduced lot sizes and setbacks in some of our areas. We reduced parking requirements. I think we're the first community for tiny home parks. I think, you know, we've expanded where boarding houses can be. We've allowed greater flexibility on non-conforming properties. We've adopted the tenants' right policy. We've added permanent supportive housing as an allowable use in the community. We've allowed multifamily and mixed commercial residential in 2 major commercial zones. So I often say to Anne, she talks planner to me sometimes. So for those of you,
own language.
Correct. So if you think about the area surrounding the Bangor Mall, what we've done is we've allowed residential as an eligible use in those zones. Because let's be open to what the possibilities could be.
Sure.
We updated our mobile home and manufactured home park language to comply with state law. Robin is still working on the mortgage thing and trying to get that cleared up. And obviously the big sweeping change we've done is we've done an update of our 10-year comprehensive plan. And we also have enacted the zoning changes to comply with LD 2003, which was state legislation that was delayed implementation. You have to be in compliance by January 1, unless you have a town meeting form of a government, you're allowed an extra 6 months. She touched on the fact about the amount of financial support from our various programs. You know, we do a lot we try to have a variety of programs for the residential homeowner, but I will also say with some new staff, we're really looking at retooling and expanding that to be more responsive to the needs of the community right now. So at this point, over the last year or so, we've done about $550,000 worth of different support for single family residential homeowners. We've also, between CDBG and ARPA monies, we've allocated $6.1 million to affordable housing projects in our community. And then the other thing that isn't always as visible, but which we're always open to and you know, we'll consider as part of any development is we'll enter into credit enhancement agreements whereby, so for example, if an affordable housing project and sometimes even a market-based housing project comes forward and they need some financial support to make it work, is we'll agree to give back a portion of the taxes for a period of time so that the project can move forward. So you see us doing that pretty regularly with Pegwest affordable housing units. So that we're committed. We're in from the construction dollar, we're in from the operating dollar and supporting all of those different areas. And did talk about the short-term things we're talking about. She talked about the study. Thinking about the study, is going to be more than what the old housing work group study was. Because what we found is in 4 years of allowing ADUs, we're just not seeing anybody kind of, it was viewed as ADUs, that's going to be great. But nobody's kind of taken us up on it. So how do we encourage it? What are the other barriers that, you know, we're just not seeing? Right. Is there a barrier we're not seeing? As well as updating sort of the work that's been done previously. The other thing right now is we've got a bid ready to go out for pre-approved building plans. So we're going to buy building plans. And so if you as somebody who wants to come in and build in our community, if you want to build an ADU on your property, you don't need an architect, you don't need an engineer, here's your plans. It streamlines the whole process and trying to reduce any number of barriers that we can. The other one that we're seeing quite a bit too is sprinkler systems and heat pumps for
Right.
multifamily. So 2 units is fine. You add that 3rd unit. And because of, main building codes, we've got to add a sprinkler system. So we have a lot of larger homes that maybe could add a unit. But the cost to do that, to install a sprinkler system, is that the barrier? And how do we help fix that? And we've identified some of our own city properties and looking at ways to partnership with what I will call renewed partners and looking for new friends and renewed partners, primarily being, Habitat for Humanity. Their efforts were really pretty stymied as part of the pandemic. And they're under new leadership and are really looking to gain more ground.
Yeah.
So, and Ian talked about the internal staff document, and what I'll say is it's the starting point. And it's dynamic, we can change it, we can add, and oh, what about this? And maybe we shouldn't do this, and can we reorder this way? And it just allows us to be hopefully a little more targeted, nimble, and thoughtful. And we've talked about, over the last year, there's been 84 dwelling units constructed in our community, and there is 392 units that have been approved by the planning board that are just awaiting construction.
Wait time on construction. I know post-COVID, it was a hot thing to try and get materials. Are we still in that place right now, or it's just waiting?
So it seems to be, and generally our bidding seems to be a little bit better. I think especially when you're talking about the larger redevelopments. So when you're talking about, I think they're just wrapping up the senior housing project. I think it's called Blueberry Ridge on the corner of Davis and Ohio. Yeah.
That was nice.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
So
big.
they are going to start some of the groundwork for phase 1 of the senior housing, Enquist's senior housing on Milford Street this fall. And then they'll be going full-blown construction here this spring. They've also submitted an application for the phase 2 of that work, which is, I believe, 40 units of family housing, of affordable family housing. Bangor Housing has submitted an application for senior housing off at the end of Sunset Avenue as well.
Debbie, sorry to interrupt you. Can I ask you the 40 units for family housing? Is that on Milford Street?
Yeah.
So they're going to do it. They have the space there to do 3 phases.
Okay.
So phase 1 was senior housing, and the funding is already in place from Maine State Housing. And phase 2 is family housing. And that's what they're submitting an application for right now.
Got it.
We also expect this spring to, I'm hoping no later than March, but for whatever reason, the timetable keeps slipping, and I don't believe it's related to a contractor, is we are going to have, I believe, close to 40 units of permanent supported housing in what was formerly the Pine Tree Inn.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, where is that?
That's up by the,
I like Maine Public and UMA.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
When you say supportive housing, are you talking about like?
Permanent supported housing, on-site support.
Yeah, so it's like you have an efficiency apartment, but there's staff all the time. So as opposed to transitional housing, the people that are there may be there for a long time.
So, so are we talking individuals who, neurodivergent individuals who can't necessarily be completely independent, but have a level of autonomy where there would still be people there? Is that what you're talking? Or are you talking?
Yeah, so there's always staffing there, yeah.
So, and I mean, I think, Penquist looks at it from, they have, we know, I can't sit here and tell you what the entire population would be. But it is that ensuring that they have a service provider who was able to address the needs of the individuals who are residing there permanently. And again, to your point, some level of autonomy, but do need some support to be able to maintain that autonomy.
I think it'll be interesting to learn more about that because different populations require different services. So I guess what kind of population are they thinking?
So we can actually, how would you like to have Penquist come to your next meeting?
Love it.
How would that
That'd
be?
be great.
Good.
Nice, okay.
I appreciate this particular document outlining kind of like the timeline of what has happened, where we're going, what's happening in the short term. We do have some committee members who we feel very passionately about housing, which is part of the reason why, we were seeking this. One, and why we also created a subcommittee, because it is a big topic. What is the best avenue, or for those who are interested, what are the best places for them to go to, the best meetings? Like, where can they go to get more information and to have their voice heard or air their concerns?
Probably just meeting with me, maybe, we set up a time where I meet with the subcommittee and to go over this document a little bit more line by
Get some
line.
feedback
And,
and thoughts,
get
because
some feedback.
interesting, and in her planner life, she is a gatherer of feedback.
Yeah.
And it brings value. When you bring something forward and then somebody goes, wow, oh, yeah. So taking those opportunities.
For sure, and to the questions of some of the committee members, the question is like, why isn't there more immediate action, and that can only be addressed when you're in the right rooms with the right people to ask those questions, but to also understand what has happened.
Right. Yeah.
You can't walk in and say, well, everyone's got to reduce their rent by 600. Well, why can't that happen? Or what are the avenues to address those, those concerns?
Right. Because it would be great to also evaluate the things that have happened, like the accessory dwelling unit. We use that as an example a lot because we were so excited to put this in. We were one of the first communities in the state to put it in, and we ended up actually giving some amnesty to some people who had those apartments, and so we didn't generate new ones.
Yeah.
There's been a few.
So like, why?
But just not at the numbers that we thought. So, from a staff perspective, I would love to meet with the committee just to do those kinds of evaluations of where we're at.
That would be fantastic. Can I?
Yes,
can I ask a question? Just on the sort of what's happening now. Again, thank you very much for this. Super helpful. Are things like, so is this like an evaluation for what the barriers to folks that want to have additional, like before we were talking about, for instance, the sprinkler systems and heat pumps for multifamily? Is this, we're now in the process of creating some sort of rebate for folks that are doing that, or we're just identifying if that's an issue?
Right. I think we've heard, so again, like ADUs, we've heard it's an issue. So what can we do for a program to see if we can help solve that issue?
So we're like in the exploratory solving space for these bullets.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
And some are, and I think this was feedback from the committee as well, as we tighten this down, because we really just did say, this is what we think, is this the kinds of information you have, and we're going to come back and revamp it. It's just sort of put dates beside this, so that people understand, oh, this is when this might be coming up, and this is when that might be coming up. And what we typically do, and I think the connection to Ann is good, but I will also say our weekly agendas also have, so like on the Business and Economic Development Committee, we typically try to provide a list at the bottom of upcoming topics.
That's
so that we kind of try to, because it is hard. We have so many things going on, is having that visual cue, not only to us internally, but to external stakeholders to say, we haven't forgotten.
Yeah. So it's almost like, it sort of puts a burden on folks to, not the burden, but it's the responsibility of individuals to know where to look for this information and to be able to, I think that there is so much being done. And I think that the problem is that people aren't aware of it. And instead of saying, why aren't you doing anything, to actually be putting it out there so that it's more evident, which you're doing, like, that's why this is important. That's why putting it on
the end of the business and economic development,
And
note so that folks can see, okay, this is what the city's working on.
And creating this document in a way that's accessible, easily to put your hands on, and to hold us accountable to, maybe you do a quarterly update. So that you can say number of new units constructed, number of new units permitted, and you almost can create a counter. You talked about the fundraising counter. Is there a way to do a housing?
Yeah, and I think that that's actually a really good idea, because I know that everyone here hears things like, well, what's being done and nothing ever happens. And just to be able to say, like, actually, this is where you can go and you can find out what's happening and actually what has been done and what's been done since.
And that's why I asked my previous question, which is not just for our subcommittee, but like, what are the best avenues, the preferred locations to grab the information? Because I think we all kind of agree as committee members, any chance that we have to address these things, I like to say, here's this, but also there are these meetings, or this is the right location to check this out, or if you air your concerns. I want to make sure I'm driving people to the correct location.
But then do we just say the business and economic development committee meetings?
But that can be, so I do struggle with that a bit, because I do find we all have a different level of understanding of that. Ian and I live it and we think nothing of it. So how do we reframe how we share that information? That's more easily digestible to somebody who doesn't. It's like the question about when are our meetings? I know exactly when our meetings are. They're after the second council meeting. But that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything to everybody.
I think this is a good start, like you were saying. That this is it's easily digestible and it's focused.
Correct. Yeah. And I think what we can also do is, finally, we are getting ready to implement to begin work on upgrading the website.
How long ago did we discuss that?
It was like a year ago.
Oh, I think
It's a while.
Yeah.
So, we have the opportunity to create sort of topic specific, and we can even do it on our current website. It's just not as pretty, but I mean, we have a link right to when you go to our homepage, ARPA. It's a priority ARPA. Click it, move on. Housing, click it.
No, that would be great.
And then we can easily, for example, home ownership assistance. We already have the links to our community development block grant programs. But if you don't know what a community development block grant program is, you would have no idea what link to click.
Yeah.
Or the actual policy.
Correct.
Right.
So, I mean, we've got to become.
But that's user friendly.
But to your point, the only reason why I knew anything was because of my involvement here.
That's correct.
Right. And it's a part of the barrier. That is part of the barrier.
Yeah.
Right. So that's my, like, if these are more accessible, people know where to go. So that it isn't just sitting back and waiting for information to come to you, but having it available out there. So, and knowing where to go so that you can actually find the
information. If you want to know the update on the rental registry, if you click on it and be like, update, city council talked about it here.
And we talk about an ADU. So you could watch a council meeting or you could watch a committee meeting and you could have no idea that what we're talking about when we talk about an ADU is actually a dwelling unit.
Well,
if you don't have any concept of what an ADU, what that acronym stands for.
Exactly. Where do we say here what an ADU is? How does someone go find
what that means?
Like, does someone hover over the word to get the definition?
That's something I really want in the website, is being able to hover
love that
over and open up a new window or new tab.
Yeah, I have a lot.
I love those that you can.
I have a lot of ideas just to get so that it is something that sort of shifts the culture from this. Well, I don't know anything that's happening and no one tells me anything, everything we hear over and over and over versus it's super accessible. It's where you can find it. It's common vernacular. We're all familiar with it, but that's like a big culture shift for the city too, to be able to say, like, it's not some, fortress on
We're not a
nobody knows what's
mystery.
happening in
Correct.
exactly.
Right.
And we feel that we just need to take a step back. We put out information on social media, we put it out in press release, we put it out through video, but if we're not speaking the language and
Yeah.
we're not,
Yeah.
but we still have business to do, and the business needs to sometimes
Be a little
take a
bit, yeah.
form that doesn't feel as accessible. and open.
To accessibility as it relates to the website, I remember at one point there was a discussion about the different vendors may also have an app option.
Yes.
Is that part of it? And are we thinking about how this accessibility might tie into that?
So I'm not exactly sure which portions are in the base bid, but we have options to buy. We're buying a platform that has a whole host of add-ons and connection points. So
Mobile friendly at a big level.
Correct.
but-
Have you made the
yeah, that bid's been awarded to Civic Plus.
Civic Plus?
So if you look at, I almost think Portland,
I do some.
I can't remember.
Thinking on
if
that.
You're right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you may recall that when we were in our final draft of the comprehensive plan, we brought that to look at language. And, you know, when we get a final draft of this document, we'll come back and have you look at it. Like, would somebody understand this? Like, would your next door neighbor understand what this is? And how can we make this better without making it too wordy? Because as Deb will tell you, I can get very wordy and just start going. So, it's like you want it to be simple, but you also want enough of an explanation so somebody knows what we're talking about.
And just a side comment too, like with making the website more accessible, is there going to be also ability to like have things translated on the website as well to different languages?
Right. We're going to look at language.
I didn't ask that question specifically, but I will record.
What?
I could go back a few minutes, but on there.
Oh, all right. We have a quorum. Before we get to Andre, was there anything else about the housing part of it so that we can close this up before we move on to business? Okay.
That was great.
Thank you for
Anne.
this.
Thanks,
This is
Anne.
great.
This is super helpful.
We're definitely going to dig into this a little more.
And I would say that we're gonna hopefully show a prettier, showier draft next week that is business and economic development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because keep in mind that the elections are in November. So we try very hard to only introduce items that we can complete with this current council.
Yep.
It really puts potential new counselors at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Not that we're not doing the prep work to be ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
But
that
to
makes
start
sense.
something and have them come in and be like, I'm gonna vote on something that I never.
wasn't there.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we're very mindful.
Thank you.
We try to be mindful of that.
Thank you for coming in and
Thanks, Dan.
continually coming to our meeting.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
It's gonna be a frequent caller.
Thank you, Anne.
Hopefully the presentation earlier was interesting.
She was very excited.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go back to one. We need a motion for the approval of the minutes from August 29th.
I motion to approve minutes.
Certainly.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or any corrections that need to be made to the meeting minutes?
No.
Seeing none?
No.
No. Okay, where Andre's online, we have to go around each person.
Correct.
Okay, so we need to vote on the approval of the minutes.
Correct.
Okay, so let's start with Andre online.
Approved.
All right, and then we'll come in here.
Approved.
Approved.
Approved. Meeting minutes are approved. Do you want to talk briefly about membership, just the status of?
Sure. So our student representative, whose term expires this month, her schedule is such that she just can't continue that commitment. So it did reach out to the superintendent, and we have identified an individual who also serves on the school's DEIB committee, and had asked specifically what the commitment was. They provided that. They were very busy. They have a lot of commitments. But it seemed to line up. So I believe they've submitted an application for consideration to the city clerk.
Great.
So hopefully we'll be in a position to have our student, high school student position filled again. Melissa, I know you had submitted your application. All right, good.
Keep it on top of everything.
All right.
The other day, but
So, yeah. I'm sorry about that.
Was there anything we need to discuss about the subcommittees other than just knowing where everyone is?
No, I just keep updating it with preferences, and I think I'm only, I'll ask, Brindy, I know her name. I swear I know her name. To follow up with, I think it is just the one member that we haven't kind of been able to nail down, so that we can hopefully start moving some of those things forward.
Okay, great.
Yep.
And I think we move on 6, 7, 8, nothing. So we're gonna go right to those manager updates.
And for some reason, I cannot find the update from the school committee on when they're gonna restart their DEI.
okay.
The process, I did ask that, and I'm like, when I looked at the agenda, I'm like, I know I did all of that work. Citizen appointed committee updates. As we shared, we had about, I think 3 or 4 vacancies based on some resignations. We had at least 8 applicants. I just wanted to share in general terms as well, that the city relies on a number of citizen volunteers to come forward and assist in a lot of the work we do. So at the time that we were starting to look for applicants, we had 36 vacancies and we had well over 50 applications. So obviously sometimes there's more interest in one area than another. Council does work with individuals to try to say, if not this, what would be sort of the second or third. So they have done one round. I think the first night that they interviewed 24 applicants.
Wow.
And their next night, I believe, is coming up in early October. And the citizen appointees, just like your terms expire in December, their terms will begin in January. So as we look ahead. And my only other update is City Hall relocation. You guys, you had the opportunity to look at the floor layout. We've made some changes. The bid actually came in not horrible. So very pleased with that because we've had some bad bid experiences here lately. So it does look like that we will be physically relocating our operations sometime in November.
All right.
And the reason we did that specifically, I'm sure the contractor would love us to do it earlier. But we wanted to be very mindful of the election.
Yeah, that's
people have a connection here to get their voter registration in, to pick up and maybe even complete their absentee ballots and to drop them off. And it really didn't feel appropriate to create any sort of confusion around the voter process. So next month's meeting, hopefully I'll be able to share kind of what that plan is. And that space is meant to be able to allow us to continue to hold meetings.
okay.
So, but obviously, as the committee, we could always, depending on the space and the time, we can always be flexible. We have flexibility in our meeting policy. The one thing we won't be doing is broadcasting live on our government channel. But because of how we capture our meetings on Zoom, we push the replay to our government channel. So that's all I had.
Awesome.
Because it's 7:30.
And it's 7. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Nothing.
So Penquist for the next meeting. Okay.
And if anyone else has any other, we're always open to any other educational, any other speakers or anything like that. So if there's anything you will also want to, suggest or recommend or bring forth, we're getting better about having our meetings sooner, planning.
Okay.
So, if you can get something to us, we'll get it on there.
Okay.
So we're trying to make it worthwhile.
This is great. This was a fun meeting. Thank you.
Anybody want to close the meeting?
Meeting, move to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.
All right.